I was confused when I first sat in an aeroplane and they tell you to put the mask on yourself first and then your child. But you can't put the mask on your child if you've passed out. So the same for life, right? If you're neglecting yourself, both physical and mental health, which we do, and we do as carers, naturally we will start to burn out, deal with stress differently.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of my show. I'm your host, Jessica Moore. And today, y'all, I have a very special guest. I'm going to be bringing her on, and she is like so amazing, y'all. We had the opportunity to meet maybe like a couple years ago. We did a coaching program together, and now she is here to talk about all things neurodiversity, mental health, self-care, and just all the things. I just believe that she is an amazing resource for you. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring up Miss Elizabeth. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. And you?
I am doing well. So I know I did a really brief introduction because I know you do a lot of amazing things. I didn't want to mess it up. So I wanted you to come on and just talk about who you are and what you do in the world.
Okay. I do quite a few things. I am a CBT therapist, mainly dealing with mental health. Since 2014, I have run an agency for disabled student allowance. So that's mature students for university that I still do. And I have also spent the last 5 years working in sort of corporate environment with adults who are neurodivergent. So yeah, quite a range of things that I do.
So how did you get started in what it is that you do?
I actually, when I was studying psychology at university myself, I needed support whilst I was studying. I had actually been diagnosed when I was a child with dyslexia. It was a bit hard to get a diagnosis back then, but I was also bilingual, and sometimes it could be hard to diagnose bilingual children. Back then, you just got a diagnosis and forgot about it. It was like, oh, you're dyslexic, and then you just got on with it. So it wasn't until I was a mature student. I was 26 when I went to university. Hadn't gone to school since GCSEs, which is high school. So I'm in England. What's it in America? So no. So when you graduate or finish school at
High
15,
school,
high school, yes. What's the qualification called?
a diploma?
Is it diploma? Like the subjects at the end of high school.
Gen Ed? Is that it?
Oh, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah, so end of high school, end of high school. So I had to go back and do a full year because I didn't have college. So in order to get into what you call college, I think we call university, I had to do like a full year. And that's when they picked it up, the teachers again. And I went through a full screening and diagnosis again and confirmed again that I was dyslexic. What that opened up for me was lots of support during the university. You could apply with what here in England we call disabled student allowance. And then you get someone that can help you with dyslexia, you get the study skills support. With other mental health problems or with autism, there are separate sort of mentoring support. There's quite a bit in place. And then as I was getting this support and learning psychology, I decided that was something that I might want to do myself.
Mhm.
And that's how it kind of started. So as soon as I finished my psychology degree, I did a master's level teaching qualification, which was requirement to actually do the support job and stuff. Yeah, and that's how it began. And then since then, it's just added on as I've gone along and found my way and my passion for helping.
So I was gonna say one thing I forgot to mention. You are like tuning in from UK. So yes, thank you. Because I know like the time differences and all that stuff. So I did just want to acknowledge that. Because yeah, because I'm like, I don't know what it's called. It's been a while since I've been in school. So I'm like, I don't know. So thank you, yeah, for just even tuning in from the UK. You in London, right?
Near London, 40 minutes, roughly
Oh,
just outside Essex, it's called. Yeah.
okay. And then how old were you when you were diagnosed with dyslexia?
First off, it was 14, 13. Yeah,
So
13 probably. The year before you finish the last year of high school. Yeah, secondary school. So I get 13. And I remember because I'm half Icelandic. So we were in Iceland at the time, had previously lived in England. So I was learning young, both in the different languages. So that's how it was picked up. And then again, when I was 25 or 26.
so what made you decide to get diagnosed twice? Like,
So when I went into college, or when I had to do, so in order to qualify to or be able to put in the application for university, because it had been, I was what, 25, 26, because I hadn't done any schooling since 15,
oh, okay,
you
okay.
have to have studied for a certain period of time before entering university. So I had to go to college and do, as a mature student, they provide, I don't know what they provide in America, but here they do like a college degree for students, mature students who don't have a college degree, that it's like a fast track. So you go college for 4 years after high school. You
Mhm.
cram it all into 1 year,
Oh, wow.
right? So
Okay.
you go 9 till 5 every day for a full school year and just cram all the topics in that you would do over a 4 year period.
Is that optional? Did you wanna do that? That's a lot.
No, no, it wasn't optional. If I
Oh,
wanted to go to university, I had to do that.
wow, okay. I didn't know it worked like that because 'cause I'm like, when I got my post-grad, I went as slow as I could. It took me from 2018 to 2022 because I was like, I had to work and stuff, so I'm like, "Wow, I didn't know that's required to do that."
uh, To get into sort of university, yeah, because it's
Mhm.
such a high level. So high school, after high school, you've got level 3,
Yeah.
then you've got level 4, which is college. And
Okay.
then you've got level, so when you go into, so I'll have to apologize if you'll have to Google it when I use my terms of like the English terms, university. So you would have, so year 1 of university in an undergrad is actually level 4, because an undergrad is level 5. And then a postgrad would be level 6 and 7, a master's. So a level full 3 year masters would be level 7, and then PhD or a doctorate. So the level 3, because you didn't have a level 3, the level 3 was missing. You can't just jump to a level 5. So
Okay.
you've gone from high school to jumping straight into level 5. They're like, we have no idea what your level of
Yeah.
education is
Okay.
or what your thing. So that, because you have to have, if you haven't studied within 2 years prior to a university application, then
Mhm.
you have to have done some studies. So here they call them access courses, and I guess
Mhm.
it's to access university. So like my actual degree was criminal forensic psychology initially. And so I did a science-based access course. So if you were going to go to do an undergrad in history, you would
Mhm.
have chosen an access course that was more related to the arts rather than science-based. So my access course was biology, chemistry, sociology, all of those things, where a different access course would be based on sort of history and other
Mhm.
subjects. So yeah, they provide that here. I'm sure they still do. This was back in 2006,
Yeah.
7.
So the point being that Elizabeth is very smart, y'all. So yes, she is definitely intelligent because I don't understand half that stuff you talking about. So I will look it up later because I'm just like, I know here is just boom, high school, undergrad, grad, post grad. Yeah. So thank you. So as far as your background, so you have a background in mental health and CBT. Can you explain what is CBT?
So CBT is cognitive behavioral psychotherapy, or actually I say psychotherapy now because they've recently changed it, but it's cognitive
Mhm.
behavioral therapy. The idea stems from that, which is like a little triangle, which is our behavior, our feelings, and our thinking. So our
Mm.
thinking affects our behavior, and our behavior affects our thinking. So cognitive behavioral therapy is actually, it's a different type of therapy to counseling or talking therapies because it is actually quite fast paced. It is a collaborative relationship. It's not someone coming to long term therapy and just talking through everything. It is, and it's not either a therapist giving only solutions and telling the person what how they should do things. It's more about, it's quite structured. We work with frameworks depending on what it is that we're working on. Like, for example, if we were working with a parent who was struggling with an autistic child at home, we would focus on the needs of that parent. They would, of course, share what they need, what they would like to work on, like a safe environment for the home, promoting independence for the child, how to go about these things. And each session would involve going away and, what, I hate the word, but it's homework, doing homework, right? Going
Yeah.
away, doing some tasks. And I guess it aligns with a lot of coaching stuff, which is like accountability, right? So you go away, you do an experiment, you try it out. Because all our lives, really, we're always saying we're going to do something, right? And we never do.
Mhm.
Like, we lay
Yeah.
down in bed at night and we go, I didn't do that. And I said I was going to do that. But we survive, don't we?
Mhm.
We survive knowing we didn't do those things. Often it's helping build habits. So it's all really unique to the individual. But CBT is about, either is coming in from one of the triangles. If one of the, so I said before, one is behavior, one is cognition, which is thinking, and one is feeling. But
Mhm.
in society today, the fast pace of living, we're all coming in only from the feeling corner, right? We're
Mhm.
like, oh, feel good, temporary massage, have a drink. So we're always just trying to change the feeling, and it's never, it's only impacting the behavior short term, and impacting the thinking short term. Yeah, we might be able to step away, take a breather, or we try and go out with our friends, try and do something to make us feel good, but it's not having that long term impact. To have that longer term impact, we have to come in from either a behavioral perspective, either changing the behavior, which
Mhm.
is hard. We try and do it ourselves all the time, naturally, right? But we might not get the same response from the environment, or if it doesn't work, we go, "Ugh, we give up. What's the point?"
Yeah.
And then, or we come in from the thinking. So after a discussion with someone, it depends on whether we decide, are we going to come in from the thinking, like how
Mhm.
bad negative thinking? In America, it's ants, and in England, it's gnats. Negative automatic thoughts, or automatic negative thoughts, um,
Okay.
or behavior. And then, yeah, and then it just goes from there. I like it. I got into it because I was really interested in Napoleon Hill.
Okay. I love Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, and so it was all to do, like, when I read all his books years ago, and the sort of science of success, and all
Mhm.
the development books I'd read, and then the first year of psychology, learning about all the psychological models. It is all really about changing the way we think and how that impact our behavior and our success,
Mm.
and especially through baby steps. Uh,
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
oh, go on. I'm done now.
Okay.
I'll take a
So
breath.
I was just like, look, because I be like geeking out and stuff, because my degree is in psychology too. So I want to do something like really interesting. So hopefully you agree to it. If you don't, then just tell me and we won't do it. So I want to do like a session, like a mock session on, because I wrote down some stuff that you said. So you said it's behavior, feeling, and thinking. So I have a kid. This is our imaginary clients. And the mom just found out that the child who is 3 years old was diagnosed with autism. Most, because as I'm thinking about what you said, and like with the success habit,
Mhm.
most who just had a kid that was diagnosed with autism that come in as my client, they come in and I'm working with them, and they feel mom guilt. They feel what else? They feel a bit like, what did I do wrong? It's like all these emotions, right? Going through their mind on what's going on with this child that just got diagnosed. So where do you come in with that? So I know you talked about like thinking, feeling, thinking, and behavior. So how do we help like that person who's coming in? I don't know what to do. My child was just diagnosed. I'm depressed. I'm stressed. What do you need for them? How would you handle that?
So you cut off there for a little bit for me, but what
Okay.
I've done, I'm just going to say back to you. So the same way I would if, for instance, a client was telling me something, right?
Okay.
So what you've just told me is you've got mum guilt, right? This hypothetical mother has guilt, and then you cut off for a second, but I think you said something about what have I done wrong? Yeah.
Mhm. Like
About
embarrassment, shame.
embarrassment. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and embarrassment. So Um, I would normally draw this out because the triangle, I'm just wondering if I have a piece of paper here. The paper
I hope
comes
whoever
out.
is listening, y'all need to have a piece of paper because we're gonna learn something today. So make sure if you ain't got it, go ahead, get your pen
An
and get
empty
your
one.
pencil.
It's okay. I just didn't want to be showing one with like loads of scribbles
Okay.
on. I've got an empty one here. So there's always a situation, right? So there's always a situation.
Mhm.
And that situation is always going to trigger a behavior,
Okay.
thinking, feeling, or a sensation.
Okay. Oh,
Either
okay. You have it in like a matrix.
Yeah, instead of doing a triangle, I've added sensation
Okay.
because sometimes this kind of impacts can make us feel anxious, and sensation would be things like the heart pacing, sweating, feeling embarrassed. So whatever comes
Mhm.
with embarrassment, different things like this. So there's always a situation it will trigger one of these things, and one of those will happen first.
Okay.
Whether it be the behavior of the shock, then the thinking. So some
Mhm.
people might react, then the thinking happens, then the feelings, then that will trigger in the moment some kind of sensation like palpitations, sweating, whatever. Or a
Okay.
situation happens and you're quite calm. The negative thinking then might result with the behavior being avoidance, right? And
Okay.
who's feeling guilty, embarrassed, and all that might step back, right? And
Okay.
not show it. So depending on how the parent is responding to those things, then that would be something to work on. However, from the things that you've mentioned, and then as a quick sort of understanding, you
Mhm.
would work with a model which kind of, and all needs writing out, and journaling is a huge factor for CBT. You would journal throughout a course of CBT
Okay.
because you need to get it out. It needs to be seen, it needs to be quantified. So we would look at how much control does she have really over that situation,
Mhm.
right? So if you're thinking about embarrassments, what have I done wrong? We would then be looking at, well, how could you have avoided this, right? What is it that you feel that you could have done or that you did to do this, and how real? So we'd look at facts and hypothetical situations. And once that person starts to see that actually there isn't anything that they could have done, but
Mm.
process of cognitive is cognitive restructuring. So you're changing the structure of the cognition and the reality because the mother is responding to the feelings and the emotions that have caused come from that situation. That makes sense?
Okay. And then I know you said it's temporary. So in that case with this mom, how long, what would you tell her? She trying to look to the future, like she don't want to be depressed. She doesn't want to be stressed. So how long, if she decides to do the therapy, is it like 6 months and you'll be fine? Or is it like, this is for the rest of your life, you're going to be working on this? Or like, how does that?
First of all, having a child, depending on how old that child is, you are an advocate for
It's
that
three.
child.
This is 3 years old.
As long as that child, you never know how that child is going to develop, but it's an
Mm,
ongoing process. So whatever difficulties that parent's going to be having with that child, it's going to be an ongoing process until that child takes over its own life, if that child can
mhm.
do. CBT itself as a therapy, it isn't a 6-month process and then you're cured.
Okay.
CBT, what it is, so there are two avenues of CBT. One avenue is it's not necessarily going into maybe why you are feeling that way, which is going more into the core beliefs of an individual. And
Mhm.
someone might not have issues with core beliefs until a traumatic event happens, right?
Mm,
Then you get things from childhood coming up, negative thoughts and beliefs about yourself, not being worthy, all those different things. So depending on how conversation goes with a parent, we would judge whether we need to go into deeper work. If
okay.
not, CBT is surface based and it is about coping with the current situations,
Mhm.
right? About proactively putting steps in place and ultimately teaching the person to be their own therapist.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
so one thing that I like to say to, for instance, a parent, you have the freedom. We keep being told everywhere we have freedom, right?
Mhm.
Freedom of choice, freedom of speech. You literally have freedom to make your own choices. It's just you have to start having not allowing your body to control what you're thinking, allowing that body memory to impact from the environment. So you need
Mm,
to start being able to control yourself with your mind.
mhm.
So CBT is about giving an individual those tools and systems, right? Teach them how to put systems in place and tools so that when you finish a course of CBT, you then can do it yourself. We're
Oh,
always going to have ups and downs, right? It
mhm.
could be good for a year or two, but CBT worked. You might go back and do another little course of CBT because situations have changed. So it just depends, right? Some people actually want to use CBT. It's a bit like life coaching as well. People sometimes just need that external party for support. So it's all
Okay.
individual.
And then you help with that, right? So as far as like things that you offer, you actually so if it's a parent out there that is listening and they're like, I definitely need the I know you used a lot of big words like cognitive restructuring. So they may need the cognitive restructuring as well as I know you talked about independence and then habit building. How do you help people? Like what talk a little bit about the services that you offer and how you help parents of children is diagnosed with autism.
Helping parents specifically that have children who are autistic or are neurodivergent. It is about promoting that self care, giving permission that you can think about yourself. A lot of people think they're being selfish by thinking about themselves first. I always say to people, look, I was confused when I first sat in an aeroplane and they tell you to put the mask on yourself first and then your
Mhm,
child. But you can't put the mask on your child if you've passed out. So the same for life, right? If you're neglecting yourself, both physical and mental health, which we do, and we do as carers, naturally we will start to burn out, deal with stress differently. The more stressed we are, the more we might be snappy, right? There's
mhm,
lots of different things that we do. So it would be specifically helping parents with things like understanding and managing the common challenges they face with the children, and but focusing on the parent, focusing individually on their self-care and mental health, talking about things like how to create like a supportive home environment, encouraging independence from that child. Some parents might be like, oh, my child can't do any things, I have to do it all for them. Right. But teach the baby also how to, yeah, for that child to be independent and then celebrate those wins as well.
mm,
Even how to encourage the child to continue to learn. Because no matter what neuro thinking style they have, they're still little learners, right? And they're going to
mhm,
continue learning. And it's really important to praise them on the process of learning. Because if we praise anyone on with a fixed way of praising them, you're so smart, right? And it puts a lid on learning. Oh, I don't have to learn anymore. I'm already smart. Then those types of things. So it would be focusing on those specifically for a parent who has a neurodivergent child. The packages that I provide, they range from 6, 12, or 20 sessions. And then, of course, it's just individualistic and stuff like that. So, yeah, dance.
So you just said something about if you say to a child, "You're so smart." What are you supposed to say? Because you said that wasn't the right thing to say.
Yeah, it puts a lid. It's not that it's the wrong thing, right? We say it. I even say it, right? But then I stop myself.
Bring us out, help
So,
us out. What we gotta say to our kids?
so it's more like about the process. It's wow, you really did good at trying that, right? You can always So when they go, "Oh, that was really good." So then it's, yeah, because you always try. You're always willing to try. That's what's good about
Mhm. So basically focus on what it is that they're actually
it.
doing in that moment and not overall. So that's what you mean?
Yeah. So the process of what they did.
Okay.
Uh, and then, for instance, I mean, there are lots of different ways, and I'm sure a lot of people will recognize this when we say, I don't know, I'll use a random name like Dominic, and the child just stop responding. You could all that they are listening. Children's ears are always open. They're literally
Mhm.
soaking in the environment, definitely at least until the age of 7, soaking everything in. If you were to quietly say instead of shout or do something, if they have a sibling or someone else that they look up to, and you would say, "Oh, look, I don't know, Joshua sitting there nicely eating his dinner," and that child would just go and sit there and be good. And you'll be like, I wasn't even talking to that child. So trying little tests like that on communicating with a child, you get to learn how they are actually paying attention, even though
Mhm.
to kind of communicate with a child directly, sometimes it feels it's like nothing's going through sometimes.
Yeah.
Little things like that. And they're just little tweaks, right? The same with ourselves, the same way we will change a little bit of our thinking. And
Mm.
sometimes that feedback I get is the smaller changes you actually make, the bigger results you see sometimes. And I think it's the same for children.
So another thing that you mentioned was supportive home environment. How can somebody what does that mean? Like how can somebody make their home what's some things they can do to make their home a supportive environment for neurodiverse children?
So, in my experience, I would say structure and predictability is crucial. Like it reduces stress. For instance, using like visual schedules or routine charts can help the child know what to expect throughout the day. Like I said, it reduces anxiety for them and for the parent. And yeah, we can work together to create those types of tools and personalize them to the individual.
Okay. And then another thing that you mentioned was independent. So I thought about that when you were talking about like letting children be independent. As a mom of two neurodiverse children, sometimes I'm like, I lose patience and I'm like, I will just do it. Trying to get ready in the morning or trying to do this. And so I think that's really important what you mentioned about like letting the children do it. I feel like that's something I'm still like it take time, especially, like, with the routine, so all of it go back together because, like, we have a morning routine, but then it's if I wake up late, then now my kids is late, now the routine is thrown off, now I can't let them be independent. So do you have clients like that that they deal with the same thing?
Yeah, yeah, that's just in everyone's daily life, right?
Yeah.
It is really hard to balance. I guess the children are little followers, right? So, and let's say you've given one example where that might not happen all the time, but on a day where you might wake up late, the routine's out the window. If you are organized, right? If you are already organized and you have structure and those visual aids and routine and stuff, 1 or 2 days, 3 days here and there, 2 days in a row because something unexpected has happened isn't really going to have such a big impact. And it is
Mm,
about a again, focusing on self care and reminding oneself that this isn't always taking a deep breath. We forget to breathe, right?
mm, yeah,
Breathing is so important. We really underestimate breathing. So just sometimes stopping and taking a deep breath, and it has to be big belly breaths all the way into the bottom of the tummy, hold for 2 seconds and blow. Some people just go, right? But it literally,
yeah,
you have to blow, relax all those muscles. And just sometimes that, again, body memory will trigger the mind, right? So now that
mhm,
you relax the muscles, relaxes the mind, reminds the mind, I don't have to stress,
mm,
right? Because you're tense now. Everything is good. You've got your kids screaming. Everything's going. You're so tense. So the negative thoughts are going, gotta rush. This is terrible. I'm awful. Everything's going mad. This day's going to be horrible. So that's why I'm really promote the breathing. Yes. And believe me, parents of children of all ages, I have one client at the moment and her children are teenagers and we're dealing with the same thing, not just small children.
How often should people do the breathing technique? Every day, twice a day, in the morning, in the evening?
If people are not doing it at all, right,
Mhm.
I would 3 times a day. Like when I work with specifically, so when your children become older and in employment and stuff, what I've been doing for the last 15 years going in and helping them in the workplace. And I would always recommend them to at least do it minimum 3 times a day. And that is
Oh,
not in your break time, right?
yeah.
That's not middle. So you already have your breaks, but this isn't a break, even though you're stopping and just taking some time out. I often say just put 3 minutes on your stopwatch
Mhm.
and just be in the moment, right? Just completely just block everything out at least 3 times a day. But if you can't do that, then definitely every time you remember, just take a deep breath.
Yeah. So why do you think it's so hard for people to focus on themselves? Like, why is it easy, especially as parents, for us to take care of the kids, take care of the house, do this, do that? But then when it comes to ourselves, like doing something as simple as breathing or making a routine or whatever would help us as parents be better, why do we put that on the back burner?
You're opening up another hour conversation. I don't know if there's a short answer. Two specific reasons that come to mind. One is the fast pace of living today.
Mm,
Not only are we doing the normal caring routines as 80 years ago, when of course people are having more children in the household, every moment that we have, which would have been spent breathing, we're logging into technology. The bank
mm,
wants to sign in. Our heating needs a number on the machine. Like whenever we have or would have had the time to be able to wind down, it's being filled up because every company that we deal with, any household things that we do, even Amazon or the postman or our shopping, everything, our spare time is doing everyone else's job as well, I would say.
yeah,
And we
yeah.
have no spare time. This also contributes to even young people today are saying that time is going fast. The older generation think it's because they've always heard the older generation say, as you get older, time goes faster. But I work with all the way down to sort of 16, 18 years old, and even they are saying time is just going so fast. And it's because we're actually not stopping. So that's
Mm,
one thing. Two, when it comes to caring for others, it does depend on the upbringing. We're all just testing, aren't we? How
mm,
to raise, how to discipline, how to do all these things. And sometimes, even though we think we're doing good and it's a tidy your room and then you can have ice cream, whatever it is, it's we have to do this to get something,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Or depending on what our parents have told us, what makes us a good person, or you're not good because you're not looking after me, or you're not doing this. So that means that you're not this way inclined. And a long time of that as well can impact how we look after others, right?
Mm,
And it's just and it's also just an animal instinct, right? Survival, right?
yeah.
Survival instinct. So there's so many different aspects. It's not just these, and it wouldn't be this for everyone, right? These are just the first things that came to mind as you asked the question. But there would be lots of different reasons as to why we would neglect ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but it is about my job, really, in whatever field it is, whether I'm working with adults, executives in corporations, or whether I'm working with parents, lives, or with children who are neurodivergent, it is about giving that individual permission to look
Mm,
after themselves first. We all have the quote, we all have known the quote, love yourself first, and then others
mm.
quote you kind of thing. They come from somewhere,
Good
come from
thing. Yeah, I was gonna say this was great. This is a really great conversation. We are at the 55-minute mark now. I just wanted to, before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask, is there anything? I know you have so much knowledge about just neurodiversity, mental health, self-care. Is there anything I want to make sure we touched on everything as far as what you do, how you help? Is there anything else that you want to add in before we close out?
I would like to remind every parent listening that you are your child's best advocate. So therefore,
Mm.
you have to look after yourself. You have to put your well-being and mental health first so that you can be there for them.
Thank you. All right. Thank you to everyone who watched today. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for taking time out of your schedule to
Thank you.
be here.
For
You're welcome. So, how can listeners stay connected with you?
the best way to stay connected would be on Facebook, but if somebody wanted to actually reach out, it would be LinkedIn. Will there be anywhere that I could have my details
Yeah, we're gonna
there?
put just email it over whatever information you want to send, and I'll put that in the description as well.
So on LinkedIn is the best place to instantly message me the quickest. My Facebook gets so clogged up that if someone were to try and message me and we're not friends on Facebook, it would be
Yeah.
a while before I see it. So my LinkedIn account, which is Elisabeth Fitzgerald. So linkedin.com and then Elisabeth Fitzgerald, Elizabeth with an S. By the way, it's like, that's how I spelled it on the screen. That's where I do most of my communication with with agency work and stuff like that. So I will definitely be able to answer messages pretty quickly on there. And then I do have an email address. So people that are not on LinkedIn or not on Facebook, I'll provide an email address.
Okay.
Joe?
Alright, thank you. And then, like I said, just send me that information over. We'll link it into the description. Thank you to everyone who watched. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.